24 hours or so after that win. What are your thoughts about that performance yesterday?
Team effort. Thought guys bought into what the plan was. Obviously, there were some changes. You saw what we did in the run game, get other players involved. I thought defensively, for the most part, what we wanted to do with the quarterback, we did. There was times we let him escape out the pocket. We wanted to keep him in the pocket, but he did a good job of getting out. And I thought on the back end, Patrick Graham, as the game went on, got to what we thought would be our bread and butter in coverage and gave him some different looks and made him hold the ball. That allowed us to either have hits or make the quarterback throw inaccurate throws. Special teams, that was a really good unit we went up against. There were some physical plays out there, but I think the game really came down to that PAT and our guys, applying pressure and, them missing that PAT because they could have kicked a field goal to tie it up at the end.
Well, you said throughout the offseason you expected Tre Tucker to have a big year, and you've seen that come to fruition the first few weeks. What's it been like to see him continue to make that ascension?
Yeah, I mean, like everything else, you wish there was enough footballs to pass around and give him more attempts and targets. But as you saw, obviously as a returner, as a receiver, give him a reverse. However we can get the ball in his hands. I mean, that speed is legit. I mean, when he's moving, he's moving. So I think in year two, and as Trey is building up his confidence, especially from the end of last season, it's really good that we find ways to get creative. Again, we'd love to get him vertical because that's a big play for us and opportunities. But just more creative ways we can get the ball in his hands, the better. I think when you got young players like him, Brock, Big Mike, and then obviously you got the two guys, with Jacoby and Adams. There's just not enough footballs. But the opportunities when he gets the ball in his hands, most of the time something's good for the Raiders happening.
We talked about the confidence that Ja'Cory Bennett's playing with, and he's had a lot of pass breakups on third down, the money down, as he called it last night.
Yep.
Like, almost leads the league in that. How big is that when it matters the most, he comes through?
Huge. I mean, again, I talked about it before. A guy just keeps improving each and every down. But when you can do it on money down when it counts, or down in the red zone, right, or on fourth down, third down, 2 minute, especially when we know where the ball's going. I mean, half the time he's lined up on number 2, right? That's where the ball's going. That last breakup on third down, really good with him. Great technique. And I think, credit to, his position coaches just working on that off to the side as much as we can, and him just being focused and being detailed. I think it's very difficult to play quarter National Football League because every time somebody catches the ball on you, you kind of get into your feelings a little bit, but he's been mentally tough to bounce back and just go on from play to play.
A couple of players talked about maybe breathing a sigh of relief after last week and getting a win after everything you guys kind of went through. And you talked about it last night, too, being a difficult week. As you reflect on the win yesterday, how satisfying is it, and how tough was last week for everybody to go through?
Yeah, I mean, I addressed how tough it was. It was just, disappointing. When you have a disappointing week, you can't recover until the next week until you do something different to change it. And the good thing about it, and I'm going to use what Robert Spillane said, and it's the word I said at the start of the week last week, is I'm proud of the business decisions our team made because they made some really good ones last night. That was good business decisions. And to see them go out and really take pride in their body of work and our staff, and keep everything close together and tight-knit was really a credit to what we've been building over this offseason and into the season. How satisfying? I don't want to be too happy because we want to stack wins. So we want to sit there like we won the Super Bowl because we won a game, but we need to put on, like I said before, be consistent and put on winning performances each and every week.
You guys had to go into the lab a little bit to figure out a way to win without some of your better players. Let's go Devonte on offense. Are some of the things that you guys came up with that we saw yesterday, are those things that you feel can be part of things even when Devonte comes back?
It has to be. It worked. It has to be. I think when you get Devonte, you know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get double coverage over there. You're going to get a safety over the top. So we expect that. It's different when he's not in the game. How do teams play you? Well, this team, a lot of single high, a lot of man coverage, a lot of different opportunities for other guys to make plays. So I think each and every week's a change. To sit there and say we're going to look this exact same this week as we did or we will next week versus the Broncos, I can't sit there and tell you that today. We got to do whatever it takes to win. Look, last week or yesterday, it wasn't about throwing a rock. It was about getting to the perimeter, getting to the edges, running the football a little bit more mid-zone than wide zone yesterday. That showed up, right? So I thought the O-line did a really good job as the game went on. Credit to that defense, really good defense, good players over there, but I thought our guys wore on them as the game went on. I thought we had more tempo, more energy, and more physicality.
Coach, you've talked about finding a way not to get too high or low after these wins or losses. Is there anything you're learning through this process that you implement this week, something new to maintain consistency, to keep? Yeah,
I'm not there yet just because still reviewing the film, but definitely going to look at the week between Baltimore and Carolina. We don't want to have that. So obviously not going to mimic that week, right? So I'm going to look at some things differently, and whatever we can do to get the team going, that's my job to do.
What are the plans with Max and Devonte at practice this week, and is Michael Mayer back in the building?
But Max and 17 all depends on where they're at health-wise. As of right now, status quo, and Mike is still doing personal.
You do what you did yesterday with the receivers. What does that do for the running backs themselves, opening it up for them, getting the opponents going sideways like that?
Well, one, I think it makes the defense tired because when you're chasing these little receivers that run 4-2, 4-3, from the numbers of numbers, that gets guys fatigued. And I think you saw that from their defense as the game went on. But more importantly, I loved how our offensive line, I'll start there because they've been getting beat up pretty well. I loved how they came off the rock. I thought Jackson Powers did an outstanding job playing physical, finishing. I thought the rest of the group really kind of strained more than we had in weeks prior, and I thought our running backs was finishing. We were running behind our pads. We were leaning forward. Even on the 1 or 2 yard gains, guys, the power was moving. It was moving in the direction we wanted to move. So at the end of the day, the run game is, and you even hear Luke Getsy talk about it, it's all 11, right? So when we're running with the running backs, receivers got to block. And obviously when we do things with the receivers, the guys on the other perimeter, they got to block for their players. So the more and more we can do and get guys involved that are playmakers and help our team win, that's what we're going to do.
Speaking of that, on that DJ Turner touchdown run, Trey Tucker had a hell of a block in front. What does that mean when you see a wide receiver blocking for his brother like that to get him to the end zone?
Yeah, I mean, look at on that play. It was really Trey Tucker and Brock Bowers, right? Two, a rookie and a second-year player out there and giving whatever they can to strain. And that's why I said the biggest difference in this game, obviously for us, I thought we played harder. I thought our effort was there. I thought the strain, the finish, the 1-2 to get a hat for a hat. And then obviously, like we always talk about, when our playmakers get the ball in their hands and make something happen, and that happened.
You mentioned the officials talked to you about Jackson's intensity. It must be good to hear for us as a coach. And also, what do you tell Jackson as far as how to proceed from going forward?
Yeah, I never want to tell a guy to speed up, and I don't really want to tell him to slow down. So we'll walk that fine line, but it's really good. It's no different than Max, right? I talk about that. Like, I'm not ever going to slow Max down. I'm not going to slow Jackson down. We just got to be smart, and we don't have no penalties. But the physicality, the intent is there, and that's what we want up front.
Tony, how much of a breath of relief was it when you get the running game going and it just opens up everything else? And then ironically too, you got 2 receivers that have 2 huge runs.
Yeah, no, huge. I mean, it's something we've been working on for 3 weeks. No, let's go back, even since the preseason games. Like, hey, man, come on, let's get this running game going. Let's get some positive yards. Let's get these chunk runs, these explosive runs, and that really showed up. Again, that's for a defense, you don't want that. That's one thing that plays in your mind. You can throw the ball for 500-600 yards, but when a team is running the ball on you, that gets into your head mentally, emotionally, and physically, and it just wears on you. So the more we can do that opens up our play pass, our poke action, our keepers, things of that nature we got to do. And obviously, last night, maybe not statistically what we wanted from a passing game, but it's efficient.
It's always about improving even from wins. I think you had 3 punts in your last 3 possessions, aside from the one at the very end. You talk about closing out a lot. What's the next step for the offense to be able to close that out like that?
I mean, we go to it, right? It's 3rd and 1, got an opportunity to get a first down, and we don't make it. And then also we turn the ball over and they score and the game now changes a little bit. So those are things that we were talking about in the headset on the sideline. We all knew this was a great opportunity. Maybe not to finish the game, but to keep the momentum going, to keep the clock in our favor. That's something to do. Obviously to a start that we wanted to in the first quarter, but it picked up in the second and third, late, middle of the fourth quarter. But that's one thing you want to do. When you got a team down by 10 points, you want to finish them. You don't want to allow them to get the ball back. Even though it's 8 minutes a game, you're kind of in that 4-minute mode where you want to keep the ball back, keep the defense fresh so we can do what we did at the end of the game, rush the passer.
A couple of weeks ago, you talked about how Robert Spillane has really changed the narrative of what people view him as a linebacker. Now, obviously, with there's so many injuries on the defense, how vital has he really been to this defense?
Yeah, man, he's our bell cow. If Max is our superhero, I mean, he's the next thing we got to it, and he's been there every snap. Has not missed 1 snap, I don't believe, this season. Makes all the calls, makes all the checks. When you see him after the game, you see a guy that played balls to the wall. And it's nothing more pleasure for me as a former linebacker to watch that from our middle linebacker. A guy who came in with a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's proven to everybody, you don't do what he's done 4 weeks in a row and say that's a fluke. He's one of the better linebackers in the National Football League, and I'm glad he's on our team.
Coach, you entered the game Sunday leading a big game from a lot of the younger players. What does it do for the team that they actually stepped up and had a good game, those young players?
Confidence. Last year when I took over, a lot of what the success was off our younger players. Well, it happened a little bit earlier this year in Game 4, and we always talk about it. You hear it, the mantra, like next man up mentality, but normally it's like the guy's a little bit older. He's not a rookie or, it's a core special teams guy. But I think that's a credit to these gentlemen taking pride in their work, understanding that there's a great opportunity for them. And listen, when you make opportunities, you get more opportunities.
You're 4 games in. What are you seeing from Gardner so far?
Pretty much what I thought we'll see. I think there's some plays that I know we want and we want to take back, but I also see some moxie there. I see confidence. I see a guy that it's more about on the sideline than in the building. Just keeping guys calm. He does have a good presence about himself. We're kind of where we're at right now, 2-2. And is that good or is it bad? I don't know, right? I don't know where people had us at, but I think for us, we know there was opportunities there that we wish we could have and make them. There were some throws last night. We make them, maybe that game gets wide open early on, but we don't, and we got to do a better job of doing it. But I think there's still improvement there for Gardner, our offense, and the team.
Coach, it looked like it was Christian Wilkins that took Michael Mayer's spot on the field goal and extra point protection unit. What does it say about him that he would do that, and what message does that send to the team that a guy like that is willing to do?
Yeah, one of your highest paid players is the wing guy on PAT and field goal. That's impressive because you worry about that because that's one of those deals where you're always looking to make sure he gets up after every play. But it's team player, man, team player, and we talked about it. Like nobody's bigger than team, nobody's in front of the shield, and I think once we get everybody bought into that, which we're really, really close to doing, I think it speaks volumes. Again, when your best players stand up and do the little things, how can the guy that's at the bottom of the totem pole not do it?
Coach, just thoughts on Alex Madison. Seemed pretty productive through 4 games. Just your thoughts on how he's performed.
Yeah, he's deserved more reps, and he'll get them.
Like towards the end of the game, Dylan Parham came out due to injury. Is there any update on his status?
No, it isn't. They're still in there now, so hopefully he come. I think he could have finished the game, but I think also he's being cautious. But as of right now, I have an update today.
Coach, not only did the players feed into it, but it also sounded like the fans, fed into what you were talking about coming back and that positive response, and it sounded like they heard you and they were there last.
Yeah, listen, the fans have been great. The fans haven't been a problem. The fans show up. You know how Raider Nation is, man. They love you, they hate you, they come back to love you again, and that part you appreciate because you know what you're getting each and every week, right? It's honest, you respect it, and they don't hide their emotions. But it's really big because as that game was going, right, first quarter not the way the Raiders wanted, halftime tied up, and then you get that fourth quarter, and when we really need them to be loud and be disruptive and get the guys going, and you can see hopefully on our sideline the energy that they create and they bring, that really fuels our players, to be honest, especially when we got guys there that, their first time in certain roles and it's a big moment, it's a third down, we need to get a stop, or, we got to make the right call adjustments-wise in the secondary. That's huge because all we do is work with music. So the energy they bring, the noise, the loud, banging on there, the black hole, hearing those guys bang on the pad. I love it. I wish we get louder and louder, and obviously we got to keep performing well at home to keep that home field advantage.
That's good.
Okay. Thank you guys.